Hello, guys. Welcome to the Gaspar Show. I'm here with my great uncle Steven, and actually, is the uncle of my wife. But we got married. I married her. I got the uncle too. So I'm here with him to talk a little bit about home ownership. And one of the things that I love about Uncle Steven and his story, and how he started really young about home ownership. So I want to have some questions with him. As you know, we're going to keep simple, clean, and I hope you enjoy and get inspired by his story. All right. So Uncle Steven, please tell me, how was the first time you came along or came across home ownership? How was the first time you said, "Oh, I didn't know about home ownership"? How was that?
Well, when I was 19, 20, living at home with my father, I wasn't thinking about buying a home or thinking about owning anything, but I kept buying cars. And my dad didn't appreciate me keeps wasting my money. And so he told me that before I buy another car, I had to move out. So I thought, well, if I'm going to move out, I don't want to move into an apartment. I just didn't like people who lived in apartments, so I didn't know how that life was. And I ran across a guy that was a real estate agent. He said he would help me find a house, and I really didn't have the money at the time, but I had a car that was about a year old. So I decided to sell that car for my down payment. That's just how bad I wanted a house. I sold that car, and the real estate agent actually owned a property, a distressed property that he couldn't sell, and he knocked off a lot of fees for me to get in, and I purchased that house.
How was the reaction of people when you switch your mind from the car to a property? How do people react with you, or even your friends?
They thought something was happening. They thought I needed the money for something else. They never thought that I was actually looking for an investment. Nobody was buying houses at that age.
No, like
Back
19,
then.
20 years
About,
old?
about 20, 21, yeah.
20 years old, people are playing games still. Fortnite.
Yeah, and but I thought I could do it because the house note at that time was comparable to an apartment rent, So it didn't make sense to me. So and I had a good job with the city.
Very
I was
nice.
working for the city, so I went ahead and did that.
And do you remember at that time if you had any program about the government, or you just did the conventional down payment, conventional loan?
Yeah, I did the conventional way. I'm sure that I may have gotten taken a little bit for my first purchase, being so young. And I wanted to surprise my dad. I wanted to make him
Very
proud,
nice.
right?
Very
So
nice.
I didn't consult him. Now that's twofold, because had I consulted him, I might not have gotten taken for the amount of money.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that I lost money. I think
No.
all in all, you just can't beat a good investment of home purchasing.
Correct.
You can't beat that. But had I consulted my dad, he might have steered me a little bit different and helped me a little bit. But I wanted to make him proud, so he didn't know all through escrow that
Wow,
yeah,
this is
I
crazy.
continued to live at his house and go back and forth to work. And when it finally came out of escrow and I got my keys, then I said, "Dad, I want to show you something."
No
And
way.
I drove him over there, and he couldn't believe it till I opened the door.
Oh, snap. This is so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
This is very,
He
very
could not believe it.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
That's a very nice story. And it was like so young. So when you tell me, how was your first I remember you mentioned to me, how was your first month living in a house you own with a mortgage? How was that?
Oh, it was crazy. I didn't have anything. I didn't have any furniture, no stove, no refrigerator, because at that time interest rates, believe it or not, interest rates was 10.5%.
And today's 2%, 3%.
That was like
crazy.
it's like 1989 or something like that.
If you don't mind, how much was the home you
The
purchased?
home was 78,000. It was really a 1-bedroom home, but
Yeah.
they had converted it to a 2-bedroom home.
Correct.
And so I spent 78,000 for that, which was a great price, but interest rates was like through the roof. It was crazy.
And how was the process with that real estate agent? How was the process of your first home so young? You were at that time you were stressed or no? Or was it smooth? Was it easy?
I trusted him. I trusted him, and I'd like to also recommend for those people who are looking for a home, make sure you find somebody that you can trust.
Correct.
Somebody that you're cordial with, somebody that answers your call quickly, and
Very important.
they don't take you around the bush, you know.
Very
Find somebody that you're comfortable and you can trust. Something like my nephew.
You heard him. And tell me one thing. How was and after you purchase your home and you learn a little bit more about property, how long was after you bought your first or second home? How was that?
Well, you know, not too long after that, the market took a tank. So it allowed me to refinance that house down to like 5%. I mean, the interest rates went down quick, a couple of years. So that helped me because I was spending almost all my money on the mortgage at that time. But eventually I had my son and I got married, and they didn't want to live where this house was. So I was looking through the newspaper and I saw some foreclosures. And back then, it was a lot of foreclosures.
Yeah, because the market was really
Oh yeah, it was falling. So everybody was walking away from their houses and stuff. And it's not like that today, of course. But I looked through the newspaper, I found a foreclosure, and I started that process. I put a bid in, and I won the bid. Yeah, and then I moved to a townhome in a better part of that area. Yeah.
That is very nice. And now, you, if you don't mind telling us, do you own more than one property today?
Yeah, I'm currently living in my 6th property. I managed to keep, at one point I had 3 at one time. I was renting 2 out, and I held on to the one I was staying in. And I eventually sold that 3rd one, so I only have 2 properties now.
Very nice.
Yeah, 1 rental, 1 main home.
Now, we transition a little bit from his first home, how was the first home, and now we are talking about, with you, homeowner, and a property owner, that even thinking to have your second property. And sometimes we have a lot of myth about, oh, just having a property or income property is kind of difficult, is a stress. With you, how do you manage to have more than one property? Whoever, not who, but there's a person that helps you with the home, with those properties, to manage those properties?
Well, originally I did it on my own for several years, maybe about 7 years. I did it on my own, and I managed tenants and I advertised on my own. But as I get older and as things get more complicated, especially now that this particular time we're in COVID, right?
Yes, correct.
So it's very good that I have a management company manage my property, because they're very adamant about getting the rent from the tenant. And there's certain process you have to go through when there's a COVID situation, and they claiming COVID benefits, you know. Totally. But yeah, right now for the last year or two, I've used a management company, and it's been worth it.
That's good.
It's been worth it. So I recommend that if you have rental property, especially if you have more than one rental property, please hire a management company. Just like you would hire a real estate agent to help you find the perfect property, you definitely will benefit from having a management company.
I believe big time, because now I think it was the Prop 21 just came along, and actually a lot of people voted to not have the Prop 21 for the rent control. So it's very, very good to have a property manager to work for you. Uncle Steven, my question to you, you transitioned from first-time owner to property income with cash flow. What is the do's and don'ts for the person that is, okay, I live with my parents like it was, and or I have a family but I'm renting? What do you said, okay, you have to do that to own your first home? What is your do's of your first home?
If you're just getting started and saying, I am either tired of renting an apartment, and I'm either tired of living at home with my parents, first step you make is sacrifice. You know, you have to say to yourself, I'm not going to buy this. I'm going to hold off on a new car. I'm going to hold off on big ticket expenses.
Correct.
Because you're going to need a lot of money. But even if you take advantage of the first time buyer situations, you still need some money to move out and make it comfortable when you finally purchase those properties. I mean, you know, from all of your escrow and closing costs are things that you're going to have in hand. You know, very seldom do they finance that total cost within the packet. You know, you have to have it up front.
And what is the don'ts? You said skip from there.
I think if you're looking, you know, and the application depends on what type of family you are at that time. If you're a single person looking for a house, it's totally different than if you're a family already. Because if you're a family already, then there are some things that you need to have as a family that you wouldn't have necessarily need as a single person.
Correct.
For instance, a location is important. School districts for your kids. Size of the house. If you plan to have a family and you don't have kids, don't settle for a small 1-bedroom or maybe even a 2-bedroom. If you need to save some more money, wait a little while and get that extra bedroom because you know your plan is to have children. And sometimes we don't plan to have children as soon as we say we're gonna have them, right? But that's a word to the wise, you know. We know several people, you know,
big time,
who was going through that now, who are dealing with 1-bedrooms. The objective is to become a homeowner, period. So I don't want to discourage anyone from not purchasing a home or a condominium just because it's a 1-bedroom. If that's all you can afford, you get it.
It's still better than renting.
That's right.
Remember,
that's
it's
right.
still better than renting.
That's right.
And one of the things that I want to say is how I appreciate, and we talk a lot about properties every time that we can. And he also told us about our first property too, and how it was, as I said, was a sacrifice. But remember, there's little steps that you can do with a real estate agent that can help you to get to that purpose. And sometimes people think that you might think you're not ready, but you are ready with all the government and helps that you can have. You might be ready right now, or if you want to buy next year, it's always good to start right now.
Right.
As he said, he stopped buying his car. He stopped and save it for that situation. But it takes a while. It was not like after 2 months or 3 months. It took a time.
Right. Yeah, at least half a year, a good 6 months, you know. And when you're on a quest like that, don't talk about it.
Yeah, very important.
You know, you really have to just do it. Don't brag about it. Don't tell your friends what you're gonna do and what you're about to do.
Very important.
Just do it, because people have a funny way of discouraging you, and sometimes they don't know that that's what they're doing.
That is so true.
Yeah,
that is so true, Uncle Steven.
Yeah, they see you doing something good, and instead of them patting you on the back and congratulating you, oftentimes it turns into a negative.
Yeah.
So
and for that, mainly because it's a big purchase. This is your home. You become a homeowner. Some people is gonna act different.
Right.
Very, very different, and try to discourage you a lot.
Right.
That's why you have to always talk to the right person, or if sometimes don't talk to the right person, be quiet, as he said. And just talk to your real estate agent. Trust me, the real estate agent is going to help you. He's going to be very trustworthy to help you out. Uncle Steven, the last but not least, I always tried, and actually the last time I didn't do with Jason, I want to do with you. Tell me one quote or one scripture that motivates you or inspires you, that you could share with somebody that is on 20s or 25s or 30s, that could inspire them to home ownership or just to have a better life.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've always liked the scripture, I could do all things through Christ, which strengthens me.
Very strong.
And I can't remember where it is right now off the top, but that's a very powerful scripture for a person who is like kind of me against the world type of
Yes.
atmosphere, you know, because
Yes.
this is a big decision.
Yes, it is.
Purchasing property is a big decision,
Mm-hmm.
and although you may have the money, you have to have the mindset also.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be ready. You have to be mature enough
Yes,
to
it's so
accept this responsibility, because there's a lot that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the contrast in purchasing apartment or living in an apartment and having the landlord bear the responsibilities is different from a homeowner bearing the responsibilities.
Yes.
There's a lot
It,
that comes
it
with
is so funny you mentioned that, and that's what one of the things that I love. So we are in his home right now, and it's a beautiful home. Most of the things that it is in his home decoration, it was him that he did all of that. And what I inspire a lot, even for myself, is how they have a little issue. He's not calling nobody. He's actually the one fixing it. And it's funny that every time I come to your home, he's watching HGTV. But there is a reason for it, because he learned stuff to do it at his home. He's the property owner.
Yeah.
He's the one responsible for it, and that's one of the things that really inspired me a lot. How you learn to do things at your home? How do you?
It's trial and error. It's trial and error. You know, when I called someone to do something in my home, and they tell me, let's just say it's a floor, a living room floor, for $3,000, right? And I find out that the materials cost maybe $900. I said, well, I can afford to waste a couple of $100 on material just to learn.
Interesting.
Just to learn. So I can waste a couple of $100 just on mistakes and still come out ahead.
Yeah, you're not gonna spend the whole 3,000.
No way.
Yes.
No way. I'm not gonna spend that much money.
That
you
is
know.
so interesting, because we basically spend the money for the handwork,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the labor.
The labor.
Yeah.
That's the labor,
Yeah.
and the material is not too expensive.
No.
What is the most difficult thing that you did in your home?
Probably knock down a wall and put a beam in. To put a beam in to support, you know, because you're getting rid of what they call a bearing wall.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and me and my wife, she helped me put the beam in.
Wow.
But that came from watching YouTube videos, asking questions. You have to be a student before you actually tackle something.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. Guys, as I said, this was one of the greatest time that I have, and with the Gaspar show here with my Uncle Steven. And I appreciate you for watching. Uncle Steven, I really appreciate it for your time.
Oh, no problem.
I hope to see you in the next episode.